Hello and welcome to another edition of the Footy Mailbag. I'm running things this week. It's your boy, Clarky. Joining me, as always, I've got the beautiful man out west, Damo.
I'm angry, Clarky.
We'll get to that. Let's introduce our wonderful guests so that they can feel like they're allowed to speak. We have joining us this week from, you know him as one of the third men up, and also from SuperCoach Swordplay, we've got Janath.
Hello, Clarky. Hello, Damo. Nice to be on with you guys. It's a great. I feel like this is our annual tradition around this time of the year.
Well,
yeah, we seem to get you around the buys, don't we?
We always get we save our most technical and well-versed people for the buys because we don't know what we're doing. So we always bring in the people who have that little expertise to help us get through it. It's a emotional support thing. So thank you so much for spending the time with us. And I'm sorry that you've come here to listen to Damo has a grievance.
Okay.
Clarky.
Damo, what's your grievance?
Janath, Clarky. Plan for the buys all you want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What the coaches say, it doesn't matter. Before the buys, I was prepared. And then Horne-Francis, McRae, Callahan all got injured. And my rookies died. I wouldn't have traded in Campbell-Gray if Adam Uze didn't say that he would play even with Bolter back. All of these things have just deflated me and my team. My team's now run around in circles. It doesn't know what it's doing. I don't know how to fix it. And it's all because you don't plan for the buys, because if you plan for the buys, you're just going to be set up to be disappointed.
Damo, it's okay, buddy. It's going to be all right. Because for every bad buy, there is a good buy. And especially since there's more buys this week, Janath, how have you been navigating the buys so far? Have they been kind to you, cruel to you?
Look, I think, I've gone up in rank in both the buys. I think from 3K into 1.2K now.
Hell yeah.
And look, it is very tricky. I think last week I was meant to have 23 if buy planning went correctly and end up with 19. So it just how it happens, I guess. Like even, it's just so tricky planning too far out because you just never know with the injuries and like how can anyone predict a Xavier Lindsay getting subbed out on the 20? Like it's just really hard. You just got to take those hits. But I feel like a lot of coaches have just been on the short end of the stick, especially with these really bad rookies this year. I can't remember a crop as bad as this, where like it feels like whatever rookie you bring in, they're either injured or they're subbed out or they're dropped. Like it's just never ending.
It's strange, isn't it? Because it feels like we had the great man Lekdog on last week who kind of mentioned that it feels almost like SuperCoach Classic is feeling more like its namesake, because this is kind of how it was when I started playing SuperCoach, which admittedly isn't as long back as some people, where rookies they were scoring like 40s. They were dropping like flies because there was already a great crop of established players, and you were kind of rewarded more for being creative. And you were also punished just as much if you, say, brought in a Xavier O'Halloran because there was no one else to trade in that particular week, and now you're stuck with a guy who can only score 30 because you took a swing. So it's been really interesting to have to resort to, I'm going to coin this SuperCoach guerrilla tactics. Like, that's where we're at, I think, because gentlemen, I'll level with you. I lost 20 rank spots this week, so I'm kind of plateaued at around 20k, like full disclosure. My team, I look at it on paper and I'm like, Nick Dacos, Lockie Neal, Zach Merritt, this should all work. Any other year, I'd be like 5k probably with those guys in my team for like the last 6 rounds. This year, I'm middling at 20k because Zach Merritt's a halfback now. Lockie Neal just doesn't need to get near it. And Nick Dacos he's still Nick Dacos, but, it just with less tons. So I have been genuinely considering Brian Myers this week.
Oh, jeez.
Not bad.
I mean, really love that.
I mean, everyone's talking about value options this week, and I was looking at him when I was sorting by 5-round and 3-round averages, and he popped up towards the top of the list, and I was surprised. But the way Geelong use him, it shouldn't be that surprising considering the way people have been scoring and the avenues that people have been scoring from this season.
This is the time, right? This is the time to go with the McKerchers. This is the time to go with the Myers, and I think he's someone who's definitely caught my eye this week, which is a very smooth and seamless transition into Janath. I don't know if you've listened to the mailbag recently, but we always like to start off with what caught our eye from the round that just was. So please tell us, what's something that caught your eye this round?
Well, I was saying on the SuperCoach potty that I was out on Sunday. Went to the footy on Sunday night, so I didn't actually catch the West Coast North game, but I watched the replay for one man only, Colby McKercher. I put myself through that game, 2 hours off it, for Colby McKercher. He definitely caught my eye. 35 touches, 20 kicks, 15 handballs, 1 mark, and I was sort of talking about it with the boys last night about whether that's a green flag or red flag that he's scoring so well, but he's also not marking the ball. Like, is it a one-off sort of score? But the way that he was calling for it, playing halfback with Caleb Daniel, we know that dual halfbacks and North have worked in the past. That was definitely something that I was like, yeah, that could be real.
I'm really on the fence about it as well, and I think you've asked the perfect question of what are the concerns and what's the. We obviously know the upside because he's someone who I genuinely spent ages considering in my starting squad, but the role just wasn't there. So now that we've got confirmation that Sheasel is probably going to be a bit more mid-forward, Caleb Daniel now stonks up, Colby McKercher stocks up. So I think against West Coast, I was like, well, of course he's probably going to get a lot of ball against them, but he also managed quite well against Collingwood, I thought, the week before at Marvel. So I'm kind of in the boat with you a little bit where it feels good. Like, it feels right to bring in an underdog who you really love watching play as well. Damo, what are your thoughts on the Kerch?
Oh, look, if I needed a midfielder or a defender, I would seriously consider him. Even if it was just for the flex, I'd consider him. But I'm pretty much sorted. I just need to sort out my forward line, and I could possibly flip some players around to bring him in. But the value's there. The value's definitely there, and maybe I do need to move my team around just to create a space for him. But no buy coming up either. I mean, I've found some stats that I don't like in regards to Colby in his role, but there's a lot to like as well. Even with just the break even where it is, most people will have 5 or 6 trades left over by the time they finish their team. Is it worth just writing him out to about 500k and then flipping off him if it doesn't work out in a month's time? It's a bit of a scenario that people have to weigh up, especially with the way rookies are going.
What's funny is because people are doing the same thing with Caldwell, right? So it's the same principle where if they've got the role now, ride the elevator up, and then if you need to jump off because the cable's about to snap, then you can just quickly jump off. So I think, Janath, was it enough for you to pull the trigger? Do you think you're going to do it?
Look, I'm still mulling it over. It's a bit like, do I either just lock in my best 22 this week and go Naz and a rookie, or like in the grand scheme of things, go Colby this week, have enough money for Callum Mills next week, and I have enough trades to sort of upgrade up to someone like a Naz in a couple of weeks' time, but it feels like Colby at D6, Mills at the flex. It's that kind of year where either both picks will work, neither of them will work. I can't see a middle ground here.
I love that so much. Damo, what's caught your eye this week?
So what's caught my eye isn't a player, isn't a team, it is the coaches. The coaches are the enemy. Positional changes. Lockie Whitfield has been moved to half forward for some reason. Zach Merritt, for some reason, they needed their best midfielder on ball and they decided to stick him in the forward pocket in the last quarter against Carlton. I mean, Carlton probably loved that, but Essendon, what are you doing? Isaac Rankin's been spending more time forward. People are trading out Ryan Marrick after West Coast to stuck him on a wing. Mate, positional changes are the enemy.
You're 100% correct, and I can't help but just at least say, out of all of that, Rankin, I feel like at least he is a natural forward, right? All of these other moves feel quite unnatural. Seeing Zach Merritt take a kick in, I don't know about you guys, but it gives me the ick.
That's
Zach Merritt takes
it as well.
Zach Merritt takes a kick in the first quarter, but then he's in, but then he's in the forward pocket for the last quarter. You know, it's like, which position is he? Brad Scott, can you make up your mind? Where is he playing this round?
Well, so you've obviously been mulling this over. Do you think that there is a way to deal with these players who have had such significant changes to their roles? So as a Whitfield owner, obviously it makes me sick. As a Merritt owner, or double sick. And you know what they say, fool me 3 times, guys. Triple sick.
This is like I feel more cheated by Zach Merritt being moved around than Lachie Whitfield being moved around, because we've seen that even with Lachie Whitfield forward, he can score well. He's done it in the past. I don't know if he's still adjusting or if his role is slightly different to what he had in years gone by, but he's had that role before and been a premium. So I don't hate his move, and I'm sure that once the Giants get some troops back, he might move back to halfback. You know, that I don't think it's going to be a permanent change. With Zach Merritt, I have no idea what's going on. So round 16 is already a dumpster fire of a buy for people. Is that the opportunity where you couple him up with someone who's not quite performing either and turn them into 2 value guys that don't have the buy anymore, that are in that 400k mark, you know, like we're talking about Colby McKercher now, and we'll probably talk about some other guys a bit later, but is that something that you look at? I mean, trades, people don't have trades coming out their ears at the moment, so maybe that's something that people can't do, but it doesn't help when the rookies aren't doing the thing either, because when the rookies are doing the thing, you can make this decision far more easily, but at the moment, you just can't.
Yeah, I just want to add something to that in terms of trading out these kinds of players. One thing that I'm very hot on in terms of sideways in these primers is if you want them in your final side, you don't need to waste the trades to get them out and bring them back in. Whereas with someone like a Merritt, I'm looking at his fiction, I'm going, he's probably got 5 tags on the run home, which are not speculative tags. They're tags that have either already happened before in the season or come from teams that do tags. So I'm thinking O'Sheen Mullen this week against Geelong. Freo have run Wagner against types like Merritt that are the outside guys. This is saying if he's a midfielder, which is where we're concerned, is like as a non-owner for Merritt. Giants with Toby Bedford, Sydney with James Jordan. Then the finals, you got Geelong again, so another possible Mullen. Chincotta in the final week of the season, and then you never know what's going to happen at the Saints. So that's, I might have understated that, maybe 6 or 7 tags out of the last, 10 games. Like, that's a play you can get off that still has a buy. You can sideways Merritt to Butters in 14k. That's really ideal. I think that's a play where Butters is a must-have, whereas Merritt's a luxury to hold in a way.
Yeah, well said.
It's the way that I think about it though. So Janath, obviously your team is quite far ahead. From the sound of it, you've only got maybe 1 or 2 on-field rookies, whether you're getting the flex or not as well. Do you think that people should be prioritizing filling their teams, like you said, if, you know, maybe we worry about getting the primos that we want before sidewaysing them, or do you think that we prioritize these capsizing boats to get onto ones that are more stable?
Yeah, look, it's a really tough one, because in that same essence, you got to make the move this week, because if you're looking to go to a Butters, he'll probably be more expensive next week. You may lose money on the play you want to trade out this week. So it's a really tough one. I feel like if you've got about 9 trades left at the end of this round, you can probably make the move of going a Neil or a Merritt sideways, Zorko even. I know some people are tossing him up there as well. And it could pay off. Like, that's the way that I view it. But on the flip side, if you're running thin on trades, you've still got 1 to 2 upgrades to make. Let's say you've got 5 trades left, you still have 1 more upgrade to do. I don't think you're in the position to be able to sideways a premium. You just got to run it the course with them and use those save those trades for a rainy day.
Yeah. So this week the buys continue as Freo and St Kilda come off their bye. Sydney, Suns and Collingwood and Richmond all go for a little bit of a rest. So who are the top priorities you think coming out of this bye? We've got names up there like Sarong and Brayshaw, Nass and Sinclair, Luke Jackson, Rowan Marshall, Jordan Clark, Jack Steele, all these guys. Are you tempted by any of them to bring in this week?
Well, I'm always tempted by the Freo guys. And I already
your
own
team would be
a
all
lot.
Freo.
And I already own a large portion of the guys that you mentioned in terms of the Freo guys. Look, everyone seems to be flocking to Nazaya this week, and there's a good reason for it. He's in great form and he's at a gettable price. So if someone needs an upgrade in defence and they can pay full price for someone, or I say full price, but I mean someone who's not, out of the bargain bin, Wanganeen Malera, like his year's been great. He's had that one really poor score, but everything has sort of been a fairly safe return, and he's going to be a great addition for the run home as well, because he's not traditionally tagged. It's usually guys like Sinclair and McRae that get the tag, and even Steele sometimes, but Steele doesn't really get affected by tags because he's such inside and already a contested animal. So he's prepared for the cuddle. But yeah, I think Nass is the one that really sparks my interest out of those guys that you mentioned.
Sorry, I can't hear Nass without thinking, I don't know if you guys saw the alleged reports about the reasons why he won't go to Adelaide, because Taylor Walker said some racist shit a few years ago, and boy, has that stuck to him, as it rightfully should. I find I was told today by co-host of the Falcon, Jesse, that he has called Taylor Walker to clear the air from the rumor, which I think is really funny, to have a guy like a person of color call up a guy to be like, oh, hey, like, I didn't say that you were a racist, but you definitely did a racist thing. Is that how that call goes down? I don't know. I love Nass so much, and I'm really sorry that you had to make that call, because it sounds shit. Like shit reporting, but also like a shit phone call.
I just don't believe Caroline Wilson being like, I don't think Ben Williams knows what Nazaya wants. It's like the guy who's in charge of securing Nazaya's best future has no idea what his client wants. Sack that manager straight away. If that's true, sack that manager straight away.
The worst part about it is, I reckon Port's just fed this info straight to Caro, and she's just gone, oh yeah, let's run with it.
To be fair, this does stink of Hinkley.
And Caro's had run-ins with Taylor Walker before. Like Caro was like Kane Corns back in the day.
Back in the day?
Well, back when she was, relevant.
Back in the day.
Caroline Wilson and Kane Corns on the same panel might implode the AFL. But anyway, that aside from some football news, that's some cooked shit. Yeah, Nass is probably pretty high on the list of people that are considering. Janath, who's your biggest priority from that list? Nass?
Yeah, Nass is probably the one. In terms of must-haves, though, like players that I wouldn't feel comfortable going into SuperCoach finals with, I would say Andy Brayshaw and Jack Sinclair, probably the two that are coming off the bye. And you could make a case of Luke Jackson. It's just that he's at an awkward price right now. It's like $600K. It's really hard to get up to him. And he's just one of those players where, like, he got the inside minutes against Gold Coast, but you just never know where he's going to play, if that makes sense. Like, I guess, Damo, you'd be a perfect one to answer there. But if I was, apart from Naz, if I didn't have Andy Brayshaw and Jack Sinclair on my sides, I'd probably be looking to plan to get them in at some stage, if possible. And whether that is a sideways train a couple of weeks, when those Brizzy boys, when Merritt comes to the bite, then yeah, possibly that may be the way to get there.
Listen, we need to talk about rookies. We're talking about the fact that they're broken. However, there's two names that are on the bubble this week that have been floated to me. Zach Johnson, Hugh Jackson. Never heard of them. They both sound like fake people. The fact that they've both played 2 games of AFL football is as surprising to me as it is to some people. Look, they're on the bubble. They're going to make a little bit of money. We're all begging for it. If you need to cash out, Zach Johnson with a decimated Essendon list probably feels relatively safe at this point. Right?
I mean, if Tom McCarthy's named for West Coast, I'm not even waiting for him to get on the bubble. He's coming in, dual position regardless. But bargain basement, mature age. He's had a good few waffle games. He was tearing up the VFL. I think he's going to come straight in and be great for us no matter what. But yeah, out of the two that are on the bubble, the two main ones on the bubble, Zach Johnson seems the best of the two. He should get a few games under his belt, and he's due to get up to above 200k fairly quickly as well, assuming his scoring remains in that 60 to 80 range. But then his job security becomes really shaky after the Bombers bye, because a lot of their players are due back in 3 weeks. Like, I'm pretty sure they released their injury list and all except for 4 of them said 3 weeks. So I don't know if he holds. He's been doing really well. I hope he does hold, but it becomes a massive, massive sub risk after their bye. But if he can double his price by the time it gets to Essendon's bye, then I think he's done his job.
Yeah, look, I don't know how I feel about going Tom McCarthy early, despite all of it. It feels like, given the year that has been, and I don't know how into hoodoo you guys are, and this might be a little bit woo-woo for me to say, but holy shit, is he already cursed? Is he pre-cursed to be a dead rookie in a few weeks? Because
that depends,
not that long ago,
are you trading him in?
That
depends,
Damon.
Clarky. Are you trading him in?
You have no idea how many Freo players I'm trading in this week if I'm cursed.
Oh, no.
You have no idea. You'll be lucky to make the 8 in the waffle by the time I'm done cursing you.
Clarky, there's only 10 teams in the waffle.
I know, right? It's just
no.
I look at my bench, right? I look at my bench and
please don't look at your bench.
Clay Hall exists and was meant to play multiple games for Freo because he's been playing relatively well.
For Freo? I'd love him at Freo.
For the other Western Australian team.
Can we organise that?
UK.
Can we have that?
You can lead that. Connor Stone, another one who I've held all year, mainly because of his forward defense capability. Campbell Gray got injured in the VFL last week and looks like he won't be back until earliest potentially after Richmond's bye, and latest never. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I can take the heartbreak of bringing in another rookie that's going to die after 1 or 2 games, or even worse, 4 games. Like, they just get to the bubble and then immediately crash out. Is 99k the only price point where this is acceptable?
I feel like we're in a situation where, beggars can't be choosers.
That's fair.
With McCarthy, he's got the DPP. Worst case, at least you can move in between lines. It's better than having... So with Johnson and Jackson, the problem is that they're both mid-only. And so if you've already got guys like Moraes and Boxall and Hustwaite and Clay Hall, and they all don't have any DPP, then you probably can't afford to bring in another one of these speculative blokes. But at least if you bring in a McCarthy, you can at least swing him back into defence. You can swing him back into defence. And one of the things that I've heard a lot come out of West Coast, just with their sort of signalling, is that I feel like they want to get, when he does debut, I feel like the ball will go through him in defence. They moved Tyrell Dewar as their designated kicker, but he's not the best kick in their team by any means. So I feel like that slot is just they're just going for like with McCarthy. And now with Tom Cole hamstring injury, it may just open that up and we may just get smooth sailing with McCarthy. And the other point that we probably have to think about is how many weeks do we realistically have upgrades to make from here on out? So if McCarthy, by the time he's on the bubble, we may not actually that may not be a week where we're going to do it 1 up, 1 down. So if you prefer going to McCarthy over, let's say, a Hugh Jackman at
Wolverine,
Hugh Jackson.
Yep.
That's the second time I made that. I keep calling him Hugh Jackson.
I think we should just nickname him the Wolverine, right?
Can I just say, Hugh Jackson's not even on my radar. I didn't even mention him before because Jason Horne-Francis is due back. Yeah. So he or Moraes will either be the sub, but one of them's being pushed out to bring Horne-Francis in.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, Damon. I think that's where, if McCarthy's named, it's probably not the worst shout because look, what's the worst that can happen? He gets dropped. Then you have a dead rookie on the bench that's got DPP, right?
Janath, you won't be here next week, but I guarantee you at some point next week, Dan Butler's name is going to come up out of desperation. And boy, it's going to be a real sad day on the mailbag. When we go, is Dan Butler at 215k viable as a cash out option?
Well, you can go the Cousins, actually. You can go Sam, 2-for-1 deal.
We love that. We love a deal here. Damo, I've got a note here on the run sheet that says, let's be kinder to each other who try to help. Can you please contextualize this note for the...
Oh, yeah. So all weekend, I saw people ripping into people who tried to help them. Like, people being like, you're being a bit quiet now, you know, backpedaling now. Can we just, if people try and help you and it doesn't pan out, can you just, you know, just settle down? We play it's a freaking computer game, guys. I know it's a way of life for like 95% of us, but in the end, it is just a computer game.
It's so funny because as content creators, hindsight is the biggest enemy of all content that we ever make. Because this podcast, we record on a Wednesday, comes out Wednesday night, Thursday night, and is potentially invalid by Friday. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. And Janath, I know you guys, like, you have across Third Man Up and Swordplay, you're doing stuff almost every day of the week, right? Like, it's we have stuff that I have seen times where we've released podcasts and an hour after they get released, it's already broken for some reason. So I think
I remember we recorded one, like, I think it was round 3 or round 4. And like by the morning, you literally messaged me and was like, "Did you want to just not post this week?" or maybe I messaged you that. I'm not sure. But by the morning, everything we had said, someone was injured, someone wasn't playing, this rookie got dropped, something along those lines. It like everything that we said, anything that we said was just wrong by that point.
Here's the thing. So SuperCoach is hard, right? And SuperCoach thrives mostly on its community, on developing groups of friends. Like you play with your mates. I don't know anyone who plays specifically for overall, right? Like you always end up in a group, and you end up making some friends, or you already have a group and you're all into footy and you give it a crack or whatever that is. Sometimes when people want to engage with you, there's a lack of assuming that people are doing it in good faith, because there's an implication that maybe someone's trying to be smug and be correct, or somebody's, you know, sort of trying to go, oh, well, I know better than you. And I'm here to tell you, here at the mailbag, I don't know better than you. We are here to spread the love that is SuperCoach and the joys of that, and we ride the highs and lows. So if someone engages with you and you don't know them, or even if someone engages with you and you do know them, you should always try to take them in good faith. You know, they're just trying to either have a conversation about it because they're just as passionate about SuperCoach, or they're just as passionate about footy, or they're genuinely trying to help. Both of those things can be true. So I don't know. It's very funny, isn't it? We have this very serious thing about we have to be right. Like you can't ever just go, hey, that was good advice, or oh man, that advice didn't pan out. I think probably every week I could come on this podcast and go, hey, that didn't pan out last week. But I think it's just a given at this point. So I don't know, guys, try to spread some love. I think Damo's kind of hit the nail on the head. It's not the end of the world. Have a laugh, like have a good time with it, and be kind to each other, because the off season is coming and you're never going to speak to these people again.
Yeah.
Damo, I have made some executive decisions regarding this podcast, which is rare because you do most of the work. The spark is no longer going to be just my own.
Before we get to the spark, Clarky.
Okay, yeah.
You've missed like a massive part of this episode.
Have I?
I know, because I can read the run sheet. I know you're partially blind, but I can also read the run sheet.
It's not my fault eye care is not covered entirely by Medicare.
We need to talk about more than just Colby McKercher. Everyone's bringing in the value options. I know on Swordplay Potty, Janath, you guys did Trash or Treasure with some of these guys. So we'll first talk about the fact that everyone went for Bont last week and he came out with a 101. And the discussion then became, Do we now need to go for value rather than bringing in the studs, the blue chip guys straight away? Do we need to just, go back to the old school method of buy low, sell high, and that sort of thing? And there's a lot of merit to it. I mean, Bonts 101 felt like a floor game. He looked better as the game wore on, but there was clearly some buy rust there from them having the week off. And when you play SuperCoach, value should always be chased, but you also want to go for the blue chips in your team as well where you can. So I don't think it's panic stations for those who went for Bont and got the 101, but it's always good to know that there's other options out there. And this week, everyone's going for Colby McKercher, 393k, break even of 25, 3-round average of 112. Only 4 tons in his last 18 games though. And each time it was against Richmond and West Coast. So he doesn't play those teams again for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, Damo, because I don't think we're buying him for the matchups. I think we're buying him because of the role. And so if we knew that he was going to play as a defender, he's pretty good buying at 393. And I don't really care who he plays. Potentially may actually be better for him if he plays harder oppositions because the ball will be down there more.
Yeah.
In saying that, though, the concern with McKercher that I probably don't have about a Sam Doherty is that I know Doherty is going to play at halfback, but at the same time with Lockie Cowan to come back in and then possibly Nick Newman, Doherty's been on the fringes of our best 23, Carlton's best 23 all year. Like he's been to sub a couple of times.
Yeah.
That's where at the same price, are you going to pay up for the known role or are you going to pay up for the job security, which is what McKercher has? The known role is what Doherty has.
You say he's got job security, which is true, but does he have role security? Alistair Clarkson has come out with Colby McKercher has come out and has moved players around. Harry Sheasel's now been said that he's going to be settled in a half-forward midfield role, but he hasn't said the same thing about McKercher. He hasn't said the same thing about anyone else really. So we could see McKercher move around and this role completely dissipate. So that's the other issue that I have, and that's why I don't love going for bottom table teams, players that are not key pieces, because all these teams do towards the back end of the season is move players around to try and see what does and doesn't work for the following year, following season, pre-season, whatever.
Yeah.
Other guys that people have been looking at, you mentioned Sam Doherty, 403k, has a break even of 13, 3-round average of 88.3, but he did miss a few games, so it's really only 118 and 107 since returning. You mentioned him, like you said, he's been the sub a couple of times, or 1 or 2 times. He's been relegated to the VFL a few times. Are we sure he's going to stay in this team? I think I honestly have no idea. Janath, you're a Carlton man. What's Sam Doherty's job security like?
Yeah, exactly what I just mentioned before in terms of our defense looks so much more, it's not stable. It just feels like you've got a calm head back there. Like he was playing as the last man in defense. It just feels like a stable role.
Yeah.
But the one concern that I do have is with those moving parts that are to come back in terms of a Lockie Cowan, who's after Adam Saad, probably our best lockdown small defender. And then with Nick Newman, who's going back into running drills now, he's probably going to come back in at some point. If Doherty was a defender mid, I'd probably have him just ahead of McKercher. But because he's only a mid only, it's really hard to structure your side around getting Doherty in unless he is your flex.
Yeah.
And so that's where I would lean McKercher out of those two. Yeah. But then the question may become McKercher this week or Mills next week.
Yeah.
Like if you had to pick one.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to bring in Mills this week, but I think I like Mills more than I like McKercher at the moment. But that could change. I'm flip-flopping around all of that, to be completely honest. Some other guys, we won't go too in depth with these guys. Miles Bergman, 414k, break even of 13, 3-round average of 99.3. Port Adelaide has been playing him on ball and he's been incredible. He's pretty much swapped with Connor Rozee. He previously had the role that Connor Rozee had, but now they've swapped and it's basically been like match made in heaven, them swapping. So he's another option. I don't love it because Port Adelaide could just swap him again somewhere else, but at 414k with a really low break even, is this something that you just ride until he tops out a bit? There's no buy coming up for Port Adelaide anymore, so he becomes a really good value option. And then Ben Keys is another one. He's unfortunately got the buy coming up though, so when you're trading him in, you got to make sure it works with your buy structure. But he's 401k, break even of 11, and a 3-round average of 108.3. Clark, you can have the podcast back, mate.
That's what. Hey, sometimes you gotta let the horses run. You know, you let the stallions do their thing. Hey, so the Spark, I can't be bothered doing it every week. It makes more sense to me to run the segment by alternating it the same way that we do hosting, because it gives Damo more work to do, and also it helps me when I forget to do it. I'll remember to do it every fortnight rather than every week instead of sometimes getting. So we've turned the Spark into the mailbag Spark. I was just calling it the Spark, right? So the idea behind this has always been a little bit of an off-center player who can maybe breathe some life back into your team, because we spend all podcasts talking about the good guys. You know who they are. So we pick our favorites and maybe someone who you're not considering. So Damo, you have the floor. Who is the Spark of this week?
The Spark this week. I won't mention his name until the very end, actually. So averaged 92 post bye last season up until the very last game that he played, where he came out with a really massive 195. He scored 83 in a half of footy on the weekend at 1.5 ppm, and he's just above 400k. Now, this is where people are going to be really angry with me. His downside is he's got the round 16 bye, who people are already struggling to get 18 for. So if you're trading him in, it has to work. It has to work with your team. But I reckon Brent Daniels, if you're looking for an option down forward, he's a guy to look at. He's a guy to look at. 83 in a half of footy. Incredible. That's my Sparks.
I like it. And they trust him. They really do trust him.
They trust him.
Yeah.
He could even play midfield. He could even give them some midfield time as well, because I know they've used him in the midfield before.
He has been sorely missed, I think, from the Giants mix as well. It's just a little bit more class for them. So I don't hate that. Upcoming schedule as well. Brisbane, Gold Coast, West Coast, Geelong. So a bit of a mixed bag, but probably teams that they'll rely on him to perform. As somebody who owns him in a keeper league as well, I've been missing him. I've been missing my boy, because man was good for a solid 80 most weeks. So I don't hate that, Damo. 400k for Brent Daniels. Go
really good floor and also a really good ceiling.
Excellent. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get to the listener questions. You can submit your questions, as you all know, through Twitter, Facebook, and most of all our website, where you can also submit audio questions if you so choose and you want us to hear your beautiful, handsome, beautiful voices. You can find that on the link next to the link on our website for the form, the question form. We'll start off this week with Matthew has written into the ranch and says, do we trade Levi Ashcroft this week, given how poor he's been in the last couple of weeks? He also asks if Bergman is a legitimate option, which we've just covered. The answer is probably. Guys, how do we feel about trading Levi Ashcroft? Because I don't know, something about it feels not quite yet.
I think he can do it.
I think you can move him now before he loses too much cash. If it gets you someone who improves your team, I think he's at a good range now where he's played every game. He's got up to 380k ish. He's been a really good investment for us in our teams. A really good rookie, probably one of the best rookies that we've had. So yeah, I mean, if you want to get rid of him now, but before he loses too much cash, then yeah, do it.
I just can't pass up a rookie who is averaging 70. Like, given the other problems that are in my specific team, and I say this just to take into account teams that may not have as much flexibility, and they may be in a little bit more strife than ours. Levi Ashcroft is a rookie who is still averaging 70, so I think holding him to the buys and copping a little bit more of a cash loss. Like, realistically against GWS, I don't see him dropping a stinker. Probably maybe like a 50 to 70 in that range, so he probably does lose a little bit more, but he's still actually quite high value next week when they're on the buy next week or the week after. I can't remember. They got the round 16. So even if you hold on to that and you fix another hole this week, just to have a good score to make your best 18. So as we've been saying constantly, make sure it works with your buy structure to do it. And that's the only reason for me I'm like, oh, I probably have to hold that one more week because I've just got bigger issues.
It comes down to, can you sacrifice the 25K that he's going to lose scoring as projected, or do you need that 20K now to turn into someone who's going to improve your team right now?
Well, think about it as well. If it's
that's the only thing that I would say.
If there's a difference of trading him and getting 70 and trading him to, like, say, you know, a Hugh Jackman or Zach Johnson or even a Tom McCarthy, right, who have like a non-guaranteed sort of score that has a bit more variance. Like, I think points on field might matter depending on the circumstance, but I think we've got two yeses and I'll go with a no camp, but mine is situation dependent. So I hope that helps, Matthew. You got the vote of the board. Hey, Troy asks us.
Clarky, very quickly. Yeah. I love that I've got you on board to call Hugh Jackson Hugh Jackman. Like, it's so subconscious.
Yeah, let's do it. No, let's just do it. You know what? Let's lean in because there's no point. It's a much better name. Sorry, Hugh.
Oh, so good.
Hugh's a beautiful part of the name, but I feel like you really got to nail that second part. Hugh Bond, I always remember because that feels classy because James Bond. But Hugh Jackson is too close to Hugh Jackman, right? So it's like there's a magnet. Anyway, sorry. Troy has written to us and asks, he's looking for some value down back. He's looking at Colby or Doc. Looks like Doc's run. But Stock's run, but Colby's young with a big ceiling. We kind of did cover this, but just quickly for the people in the back, Colby or Doc, Damo?
I think we landed on Colby as being the better option.
Yeah. Janath, confirm?
Yeah. Colby.
Yeah, I think that's our pick for this week. But thank you for writing in, Troy. We love you. Hey, Brad's written The Ranch, and hey, he has written us a letter. So thank you, Brad. He says, disclaimer, this is pretty long. If it's too long for the pod, no hard feelings. So Brad's playing for rank. He has 13 trades and a boost. Lindsay and Sheldrick are rookies that are not yet upgraded, and Rowan Marshall is his flex. So we're going to kind of need to visualize as we go because Brad has given us a lot of context, and Brad, we love you for this. So I'm going to go for it, and hopefully I get this correct. To get Lindsay to Butters, it'll take him 4 trades, including Roberts or Marshall to Mills, sideways for cash. He could go Lindsay to Sam Walsh in 3 trades, downgrading only Kako and Gray for cash. Or he could trade Lindsay and Kako for cash and wait for Sheldrick and his bench players to make more money before upgrading. Cash is his greatest limiting factor for his last 2 upgrades, and Sheldrick has a break even of -1. So he'd rather hold him, as he looks like he could get near 370 to 400 before being his after upgrade. I'll have 17 premiums this week with no upgrade, 18 if I upgrade to Butters or Walsh. So I think the question in this is, should he be holding his cash or should he be bringing in one of Butters or Walsh, trading out Lindsay, or is it Lindsay and Sheldrick or Lindsay and sidewaysing Marshall? Sorry, Brad, we appreciate the time you've taken. It is a little bit of a visual journey for us, and maybe listeners, I'm sorry if you lost track, but I think what it boils down to is, should he be going after Zach Butters and Sam Walsh, or should he be stocking cash and waiting for his rookies to mature a little bit more with 17 premiums on field currently? I think, Janath, you said earlier this episode that this is the week to get Butters.
Yeah.
And I think that is still the correct decision.
Ranked 255th, playing Melbourne. It's been a bit of a roller coaster in the past. When we're doing our caps to start, I think he has a 135, 91 and a 185 or something in his last 3 against Melbourne. I feel like at the rank of 255th, he probably needs to go Butters. Not needs to, but I would go Butters. And you've got the trades as well to facilitate 4 and still get Mills in next week. So that's the way I'd be leaning and go for Butters. Like when you're comparing Butters and Walsh, yes, they're both been good in the past, but Butters is clearly on another level, and I view him as a must-have in the final team.
So my only question regarding this is that we saw this week in the King's birthday match. Sorry, I'm going to call it the Big Freeze match, just to be a little bit anti-royalty. I don't know why. Charles just doesn't have the vibes like Lizzie had. In the Big Freeze match, we saw Ed Langdon pay a lot of attention to Nick Dacos. Port Adelaide coming up against Melbourne, do we think that maybe Langdon is sent to a Butters or sent to a Bergman to do a little bit of a job if Melbourne are gonna commit? I mean, arguably I would have been the person in the position to say this, but this seems to have come out of left field, really.
From what Simon Goodwin said post game, they manufactured this tag a long way out. They knew that they had to have a plan for Dacos to have any chance. So I don't know if the tag is going to be a regular thing or not. In saying that, though, making Windsor the sub and subbing out Lindsay and also having, I don't know who you guys had on the other wing, but it sounded like you planned for Langdon to be the extra midfielder and be the tagger. So I think it will come down to what you guys do at team selection against Port Adelaide this week, whether Langdon does or doesn't tag. I don't think he will. I personally don't think he will, but that is purely out of hope and no proper intel.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating that that's kind of how we're having to do it this week. But I think I agree. It makes the most sense in the position that you are to aim for Butters, Brad. I think that's going to be what really helps keep you in that top echelon. But it sounds like you're doing quite well as a side note. So trust your gut. Whatever feels right is good for you. So you're really doing great. 255th overall is fantastic, mate. So best of luck.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to applaud Brad's team management. Ranked 255th, 13 trades and a boost left. Just having the boost left. Yeah, exactly. It's a chocolate bar that everyone digs out of the favourites boxes first. I mean, and you could that analogy is also SuperCoach.
It's super cool that Brad broke to brag about his chocolate.
Yeah, but great team management. And the fact that you're asking us for help, I feel underqualified.
Oh, well, look, all we can do is give you our best perspective. So best of luck to you, mate. We have a question from Timus. Timus has come down to the ranch and says,
Clarky, I think people are avoiding trying to be part of Nebulous Tim. So they're changing their names.
That's cool. Hey, look, Nebulous Tim, they, multiple consciousness. They really do their best to just absorb whoever wants to be involved. They run on a consent basis, I believe, Nebulous Tim. So if you want to be part of Nebulous Tim, you can. If you don't want to be part of Nebulous Tim, you live your best life as a single individual. Timus has asked us, are live rookies better than dead rookies? If they're subbed off before their break even, like Lindsay and Carroll, just to rub salt in the wound, he has Bo Allen, who was given 5 minutes of game time just to lose me money. Hey, live rookies are better than dead rookies. However, upgrading is better than both of those things. So focus on who... Bench hygiene, I don't think exists for some people at this point.
What's bench hygiene?
Bench, isn't that... We've used that
but
term
yeah, I
before
think basically he's asking... Basically, he's asking, do I want a player that's going to score 20 every single week? Or do I want a player that's not playing? Well, you want the playing player, but you also want to jump off the player when they've made all their cash and are now starting to come back down the other side of the hill. So a lot of people trading out Xavier Lindsay this week. They've still got the bye coming up. You probably can hold him, but now's probably the perfect time to get off him. Matt Carroll, I don't own him. I haven't owned him. I haven't looked at him. But looks like he's going to be on the way out of the Carlton side soon, so maybe he's another guy you need to jump off. Janath, what's Matt Carroll's job security?
Yeah, I think Carroll's the one that's going to be in strife for Cow in 1 week. Like,
Yeah.
he got subbed out, didn't have a right foot to use, and he looked quite flustered on the weekend. So I think he may get a stint in the VFL. But to answer that question, I think it really just boils down to you need bench hygiene, but at the same time, like a Hugh Boxall, now he's probably dead again. But like a player like that is just a nothing pick because you you can't use him to loop, you can't use him on field, like they're just there. So if you have a player like a Tom McCarthy's, what we were saying before, he's 99k. If he's not playing, you can use him as a loop. If he is playing, he's probably going to score well because you don't think he's really going to be the sub, but you never know with Mini. So in this case, always go for the live rookies, obviously. But if you do have some dead rookies as well that you can use to either trade off, like the ones that don't have DPP, or to use them in your loops, that's a perfectly fine way to go as well.
Excellent.
Very good.
Hey, Jared asks us that his current player is Ashcroft and Lindsay to Butters and Johnson, unless there's a better rookie, which leaves him with 9 trades and 2 rookies. 2 rookies on field, Erasmus and Hewitt, relying on Travaglia, Clark, and Cray for cash. Travaglia, there you go, thank you. Tempted to do something with one of Merritt, Roberts, Dacos, Warner to free up some cash, as they've been disappointing. Thoughts on turning one of these into a fake premium, or is there a better way to make cash? Thanks, legends.
The term fake premium is so interesting to me.
Can I also applaud our audience at just everything now sounds like a get-rich-quick scheme?
That explains so much about my Instagram ads, actually.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's listening to the wrong part of the podcast. Look, we already spoke about jumping off Merritt. Out of the guys that you've tossed up, Roberts, guys, can I just have a side note here, a sidebar here on Matt Roberts? I'm scared that he's not going to come back into the Sydney team. That's something else we need to talk about later.
You don't think he comes back in for bias, even?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Damon, put some fear in there.
I'm sure he does, but just as a sidebar, I'm not like confident that he does.
I think he's done enough to be a walk-up start.
Okay.
He was probably leading to be in F4.
I hope so.
As a non-owner, I'm saying this as a non-owner as well, FYI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, thanks. But yeah, we already spoke about Merritt potentially being moved at his bye. If this role continues where they don't know where to put him, so in other words, no role, then he's probably the one you do move. But I don't love the term fake premium because it indicates that you're bringing in a guy that you don't expect to do any better than what Zach Merritt is doing.
Yeah.
So yes, Merritt might be 100k more than the guy that you're trading in, but I don't think that is a better way to make cash. So I think you just need to. I'm seeing lots of people move players like Max Gawn around, who's above 600k, well above 600k, and they're redistributing that cash that they've got into two, appropriately priced guys, but I don't love moving Merritt to a guy who you don't think can outscore Merritt long term, because you use the term fake premium, which means you don't have much faith in them.
Yeah, I'd probably just buy a real premium. Tamo's right. No, nothing off Timo.
An authentic
Jared.
Premium.
Authentic.
Yeah, it's interesting that you don't want to buy into a fake premium. If anything, you want to get off. You want to get off the fake premiums. Don't bring in the fake premiums this time.
Yeah.
But the most interesting part that I think to all of this is what we think is a fake premium now could be a premium that we all want in 2 weeks, and it could also be the other way around. So it just embrace the carnage. That's what 2025 has definitely brought.
We'll move on to Snurub. Snurub's come back this week, and hey, we like the way Snurub thinks. Another good score and climbed the ranks again. Butters is right for the picking this week. Is he a must-have? Do I boot Warner, Merritt, Rankin, Roberts type that are performing super well and sideways to a Butters and Mills combo, or do I hold trades? They have 10 left before any trading. This one's completely up to you, Snurub. I think it's We've already
think
discussed
Butters
this is
is
the
a
week for
must-have.
Butters. Yeah.
Yes.
But
Roberts is fine to sideways.
Yeah.
I did it last week in preparation for Butters and Nas this week. Like he's probably on the periphery of the top 12 defenders, you'd say. But you can mount a case. Like Damo's not even sure he's going to get back in the team. Like that's a kind of play that you can move off. But I wouldn't hesitate to pull the merit trigger either. Like that's where it really comes down to the type of coach you are and what you really trust going forward in terms of how much do you value fixture when looking forward.
Yeah, correct. We've already gone through a lot of those sides, so this is the week to get Butters if you're going to get him. However, you can hold trades if you want and see if those guys also come good. It's kind of up to you which direction you want to take this. We'll move on to HQ, who says he's planning on flipping Gorn on his bye with a dead rookie to Darcy if he goes well against the Saints. Tigers after that makes me not care about the break even. And Mills, which allows him to get a 23rd via Sheldrick and a dead rookie. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to flip Gorn? I think is the crux of this question.
I'd love to know who his other ruck is. If he's got Cherry and Gorn, sure, I think that's fine. But if his other ruck is Rowan Marshall, then no, I probably would not get rid of Gorn. If his it comes down to who his other ruck is. That's the biggest thing for me. I support it. I support it, but in a certain situation. Because I don't know who his other ruck is, and actually, he has supplied a screenshot. He's come prepared.
Put it down the document, Damo.
I just found it. Okay. He does have Cherry as his other ruck. He does.
Okay.
Actually, his team is in really good shape. So if he does what he's talking about, he's got Sheasel at M8, Mills at D6, Caleb Daniel at F6, and his ruck combo is Cherry and DeConning with Max Holmes in his flex. But there is very little bench cover. He has Tom McCarthy, Zach Johnson, and Angus Clark, and Josh Dolan spitting 12s at him. So his team's actually not in bad shape. Look, because I know you have Tristan Sherry, I support all these moves, actually.
I just can't justify moving on Gorn and not planning to bring him back in. Like Gorn's a must-have. And yes, he'll probably drop in cash, but he's just one of those players where he could win you a final, like a SuperCoach final. Just not owning him or equally owning him in that regard. So it's a tough one. This is where I feel much more confident in advising people to sideways a Neil, a Merritt or Zorko type because they just haven't shown it for a couple of weeks. Whereas with Gorn, you just know what you're going to get. And the last thing you want is Gorn against Port Adelaide. He's gone 177 the last two games he's played them. If he goes 170 again, you're sitting here and you've just traded him out.
Well, he's trading him on his bye, so it wouldn't be this week. He wouldn't be missing out on this Port Adelaide score.
So it's like, yeah.
And I almost completely agree with what you're saying. But if keeping Gorn means that he can't complete his team.
Mm.
Do you sacrifice Gorn to redistribute the cash to be able to finish your team? For me, it makes perfect sense. But I completely understand what you're saying as well. Where Gorn is a blue chip guy that you want in your team, you want his 120s, 130s every week. But it's no good getting his 130s if you're stuck with a guy scoring 60s or 70s on your field as well. If you can turn. If you can turn Gorn, who's going to give you 120s, 130s every week, and a dead rookie into two guys that are going to give you 105 every week, you're getting 210 points instead of 180 points. That's more net points than you would having Gorn and a guy doing 60s and 70s like a Sheldrick.
But the difference for me is that to get Gorn out, the reason why he's doing it is to get a 23rd in. You're only going to have 22 scores that count. So if you have Gorn going 160 and then you have the Darcy type going 110 and Mills, let's say, goes 90, but Mills only sees your field 5 out of the last 8 weeks because the rest of your team has done so well, then you're probably losing net points every week if you're looking at it from that perspective, as opposed to just having a rookie like an Angus Clark in the flex. Like, that's where I'm coming from, where Gawn has the opportunity to score for two people playing in one spot. Whereas if you're redistributing the cash to get your 21st and your 22nd, I totally understand. But redistributing your cash from Gawn to get your 22nd and your 23rd, I'm not fully on board with, because half the rounds you may not even need your flex's score because you have 22 good scores.
So the flex score might not actually be needed. So yeah, okay. Well, HQ, it sounds like we're split. Clarky, what do you say?
I have never endorsed anyone flipping Max Gawn. Legally, I'm obligated to feel that way. It's, I don't know,
what though?
It feels like a weird.
We've
sorry.
Yeah, this year is weird, but like HQ, we've given you like both sides of the coin now that you need to consider, and so now it's up to you. And I know you've asked us the question if it's worth it, but now you need to ask yourself, with all the information that we've just provided, is it worth it to you? Now you need to decide, do you want a really strong 22 with a not quite as strong flex, or a really strong 23 where you might not benefit from the Gawn trade in the end? And the way I've phrased that probably tells you what you need to do.
The only question and answer show that asks you the question.
All right, last question, Clarky. Let's move along.
Let's hit it. Blue Ballers has written us and asked, we'll have 4 trades left by the end of buys with 23 quote-unquote primos. We'll leave 3 rookies left, hopefully decent enough cash on the bench. Clark, Johnson and Erasmus. I could not trade one in either Johnson or Erasmus this week. And keep that trade. Keep that trade. Rest of the bench will be dead. Keep trade in pocket, question mark?
Yeah, I would be trading in Erasmus. I'm just going to be honest there. I don't think he sticks around much longer. And what's weird is Fremantle are going to be the type of team to drop him, but then be totally confident that he's going to remain at the club but beyond the end of the year. Anyway, that's another issue entirely. But yeah, O'Meara's now fit. O'Driscoll is going to be coming back in soon. I don't love Erasmus's job security, but in saying that, I don't love Johnson's job security either. So you're paying $223K for Erasmus or $113K for Johnson. Save the $100K and save the trade and just bring in Johnson, in my opinion.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Sounds good to me. Hey, that's it. We did it. Good work, guys. Well, hey, look.
We did it. Yay. Thanks for all your questions.
Thank you. It's funny. Sorry. In case it's not clear, I'm working on like a 3-second delay at the moment. I don't know what's going on with my internet, but it's been very weird hosting this show when I'm behind the people that I'm co-hosting with. Hey, traffic lights. Keep a lookout. Traffic lights will come out on our socials and website. We give each player a rating that sits in a green, yellow, or red. Green is good. Yellow is watch or hold. Red is a trade or avoid. We give it for plenty of different reasons. And hey, we can tell which one of you don't read the descriptions. We can tell. We read the comments, and we can tell which one of you are reading it and which one of you aren't. So read the bubbles. We post them after teams drop on a Thursday, and we update them on Friday if needed. And once Sunday teams are confirmed, we got an important question to ask that we usually ask around this time of the year for you listeners. Let us know. Hey, when do you want the traffic lights to stop? When are they going to stop being useful to you? Let us know. We can keep doing them as long as they're going to be useful. Damo's laughing. I'm not sure.
I can tell you right now, some of the options I'm putting in at the moment, making some comments, just, I think people can see the joker in the pack every time I put out a traffic lights at the moment. I'm putting in some guys that people are going, really? That guy? All right. Fair enough.
It's super cool as well to have the traffic lights and just like traffic lights, but they're more unhinged every week. Is going to be really cool.
And we break every player that we put in. We break every player that we put on the traffic lights as well.
It's awesome.
It's great.
Hey guys, it's time of the week that we talk about our captains and vice captains. We'll go through our vice captains first. Janath, I'll start with you. Who's your preliminary vice captain for this week? Now, note that you are legally required to go with that captain regardless of what you say in our podcast, and we will definitely follow you up if you do not.
Good. Well, I've crunched the numbers over at Captain's Corner, and I would love to give a couple of options first and then say my VCNC. Am I allowed to do that?
Oh,
That's
yeah. Go and
perfectly
check
legal.
out Third Man Up on their Twitter page because they put out a great captain's run sheet that shows you all the information you need on a nice table that will help you pick your captain every single week.
This is
Thank you
perfect.
for the pump up. All right. I think there are 4 standout VCC options this week. And if you have any 2 of them, your VCC should go on that combination. So Marcus Bontempelli, we know what he does to St Kilda. We know what he does in Marvel. And I think last week, bad loss against Hawthorn. His last 3 against St Kilda have been 159, 125, 125. And I think in 13 of his last 20 games in Marvel, he's gone above 140. So back him in there. The next one I really, really like is, is Andrew Brayshaw versus North Melbourne. I see that North Melbourne doesn't really tag. Andy Brayshaw has had a ridiculous run at Optus Stadium this year. He got tagged against Port Adelaide, but in his other games, gone 106, 131, 135, 157, 154. And post-bye, fresh off the bye, I think he's in for big chances, going really well for you boys, Damo. Maxi Gawn, if you have Max Gawn, please VC him or see him. Like, if you have Tom De Koning, Max Gawn into Tom De Koning should be your VCC this week because Gawn, his last 2 against Port Adelaide, as we said, 177, 177, and his last 3 at Adelaide Oval have been 145, 129, 177. That's nuts. And then you can just follow it up with Tom De Koning, who's playing Matt Flynn. He's given up points to anyone, really. So those are my 4 standouts. I don't have Max Gawn, so it comes down to Bont or Brayshaw into De Koning. And I think I'm leaning Brayshaw into De Koning at the moment, but that's a decision to make tomorrow. So that's my one. Clarkey?
Oh, I mean, I can't ever look past Max Gawn, and that's exactly the why he is my seed this week. And I've already put the VC on the great man himself, Brayshaw, to match you. So it's good. It's nice that my preliminary, what I already had set up, matches the experts. That always feels so good. Damo, how are you looking for this
Damo?
week?
So my VC is either going to be Brayshaw or Cherry. I'm undecided about which one I go for there. But as for C, I do like Zach Butters against Melbourne.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you
I
think
feel
he gets
like-
tagged? That's why he's not in that sort of mix. There is like Ed Langdon, it's probably recency bias. Like if Ed Langdon tagged Dacos 5 weeks ago and he hasn't tagged since, I'm probably not worried. But
I
it's
mean,
like,
the 2 guys I'm tossing out for to be VC, I don't think my captain really matters, to be completely honest, because I feel like I'm going to get a good score. I feel like I'm just going to lock in one of those scores anyway. But it's nice to have a guy that, even when tagged, can still just give me a nice, well, not quite so nice, but a solid 115 or so if I need it.
I think we'll know,
like that.
and Damo mentioned this a little bit earlier, very briefly. I think we'll kind of know what Melbourne's intentions are once we get to team selection, because they had Damo pointed out they had a very specific plan for Dacos, and I don't know if they'll apply that across the board, because Langdon is he's such an endurance player as well. He's kind of like the perfect mold for someone that you would go, hey, you stick with this guy for an entire match, because he can just run and run and run and run. I would say, though, against Melbourne, Rosie is the name that pops out the most to me. Hey, if Rosie, we saw in the Collingwood game, Jeremy Howe, steel side bottom, Josh Dacos, all absolutely fed on the ball. Connor Rosie playing at a halfback, I think, is probably someone that's worth looking at.
Very good.
Sorry, Damo, you can cut that bit where I spoke too hard into my mic. I got a PTSD moment. That's not my fault.
To be honest, I have no idea what you said.
Yeah. Kick it through the middle.
I just saw a broken man
it's not. Just stop. How hard is it to just change how you're? Simon has changed everything else about our team, so our game plan is kind of good now. But for 8 years, he hasn't changed the one thing that we've. This has been a problem since like 2017. Anyway, I hate football. Actually, I hate football. Let's end this podcast. I'm done. Let's get out of here. Football is
Clarky, your internet is your internet is heading for the bin. So yes, we need to finish this podcast.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Hey, so that's it for the footy mailbag. Janath, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you guys for having me on.
And where can people find more of you? This is the chance. Plug it.
Yeah, so SuperCoach Swordplay on YouTube is where we put all our content in terms of the podcast, the mailbag video, which is a bit different to what you guys do. You sort of combine the two. We did combine the two, and then it's like it just takes forever to get through both in one sitting. And then at Third Man Up, Roscoe and I, that's where we do all our data, and we do a lot of game day squad videos as well, who's one of our partners. So just giving them a quick shout out as well. So those are probably the best ways to find me, or otherwise Janath Fernando 4 on Twitter as well.
Perfect. Damo, it's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Clarky.
Hey, if you haven't done it already, make sure you head over to your podcast platform of choice and give us a rating or review. 5 stars is the preferred and only option you have for reviewing this show. You can find us on everything at the Footy Mailbag. You can also find me at QuantumJC on Twitter. Damo, where can people find you?
At DamoSC on Twitter, at an _ after that for Instagram. I don't post any pictures though, so it's pretty much just a page.
Cool, man. You can also find my other podcast, The Falcon. We're at Falcon Footy Pod on everything for that. Make sure you head over to our website as well, thefootymailbag.net, where you can find our podcast feed, merch, sometimes written content. I think we've done that once this year. The traffic lights are on there, links to our socials, and most importantly, for those of you who are exercising your GDPR right to disconnect, you can submit your questions to our question form on the website. We take as little of your data as possible, or you can send us an audio message if you so choose. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Well, you'll hear us. We won't see.